Hello guys, welcome to Anna Tutorials, and today we're gonna learn how to implement Dagger 2 in Android applications. The one who don't know what Dagger 2 is all about, Dagger 2 is basically a framework that is being developed by Google for dependency injections. So we shall begin with the definition, and that is dependency injection is a technique whereby one object supplies the dependencies of another object. A dependency is an object that can be used. An injection is the passing of a dependency to a dependent object that would use it. So this is the definition by Wikipedia, and it's actually a self-explanatory. What actually it says is, I should explain this by an example. That suppose we have a class A and class B, and our class A requires an object of class B. So instead of creating that object in class A, we request a third party to supply that object, and this is what dependency injection is. Alright, so now you know what the definition of dependency injection is. We explain is with a flow diagram. That this is the flow diagram that actually what I am explaining you, that if you see that class A requires object of class B and class B requires an object of class C. So instead of creating those objects in their respective classes, what they are actually doing is they are dependent upon a third party that actually providing those objects to them. So this is what dependency injection is. So now I hope you have something in your mind that what dependency injection is. So now we understand what is Dagger 2. Well, in simple words, it's a dependency injection framework maintained by Google. It's based on Java specification request 330. Dagger 2 uses generated code rather than reflection like in Dagger 1. So basically, if you are familiar with Dagger 1 and you have already implemented Dagger 1 in Android, then you should know that actually it was using reflection, and they have some drawbacks over there that make the application slow in reflection. So now they have come with annotation processors right now in Dagger 2 that actually improves the overall functioning of dependency injection in Dagger 2. Alright, so now the last point, have three building blocks named as module, provides and component, and definitely I will explain you all those modules in details so you clearly understand how Dagger 2 works in general. Alright, okay, so the building blocks of Dagger 2, and that is modules, provides and components. So modules, what are modules? Classes with the annotation provide the dependencies required by other classes. Provides, those are the methods with this annotation is responsible to create the object for injection, and component, it's a bridge between the modules and the object which requires the dependency. So at first it will definitely be a little bit confusing for you all, that how these modules and how these provides components work along with the Android. So guys, first just keep in your mind that these are the building blocks and we will be using in our code, so you will have a clear understanding that how to implement. But for now, just keep in your mind that modules are the one those provide those dependencies, and provides are those methods which actually create those objects, and components is basically the bridge between the one who requires the dependency and the one that actually provides. So now we modify our old DI flow with Dagger 2, and that is the Dagger 2 flow. So in this flow diagram, if you remember our previous flow diagram, and that is this one. So now we have implemented Dagger 2 in this flow diagram, and now you see that what actually Dagger 2 is doing is it's basically somewhat same with that flow diagram only, but now we have implemented all those components of Dagger 2 in our this structure. So now as you see that our provides are those which actually providing and creating those objects which are the dependent ones, and at the rate modules, that modules is actually basically a class that actually providing those dependencies, and component is the bridge between those classes that actually requires the dependency and the one that is module which is providing those dependencies. So for now, just keep this flow in your mind so that when we implementing that code of Dagger 2 in Android application, you should know that where to put the add module, where to put that add component, and actually where to put that inject annotation in our classes. So for now, you have somehow a image in your mind that we will use these three components while implementing Dagger 2 in our Android applications. So now the last part of Dagger 2, that is dependency graph. So internally, Dagger 2 creates a dependency graph. And what dependency graph is all about, basically it's it's sort of a cycle of all those objects, all those dependencies, put it in a graph, you should say. So in our next slide, I'll explain you that how these dependency graphs actually work with our applications. All right, so this is the dependency graph. As you see, it's connected with an activity, and which is from Android definitely, and this is a typical dependency graph of Dagger 2. And if you see that our activity requires an instance of retrofit, and that retrofit instance is provided by Dagger 2, and for providing that instance, Dagger 2 creates this dependency graph. And how it actually works, if you see that at the bottom we have that retrofit instance, and then above the tree, as we go up, we see that that retrofit instance requires the OKHTTP client and the JSON, and the OKHTTP client required a cache object and an HTTP logging interceptor. So OKHTTP client have dependencies for cache and HTTP logging interceptor, and again the cache requires the context. So this is the overall dependencies. If you see right from the bottom to the top, all are dependent upon each other, and what Dagger 2 does is they just put this graph internally, and when we require any instance, they get that from this graph. So if I generalize the Dagger 2 in general, what Dagger 2 does is it creates a dependency graph of all the required objects internally, and whenever our activity or any other class requires any instance, then the Dagger 2 check whether it's in their dependency graph or not, and if it's accessed, then it provide that object to the dependent one, and if it's not accessed, then it create that object and put that in their dependency graph. So for now guys, I hope you have a clear sort of image in your mind that how Dagger 2 works. In our next tutorial, we implement all those concepts of Dagger 2 in a sample Android application, so that rather than make it more and more theoretical, I'll just put a sample so it will be easy for you to actually practically implement the concepts of Dagger 2 in Android applications. So thanks for watching guys, and if you have any questions, then put them in comments and I'll definitely reply for them. So goodbye.